Sonny's dumb. Certainly not the brightest person. And what she just said just doesn't make any sense. It's just like so silly to say. It's not a well thought out.
I don't understand how you say you love your country at the same time as you normalize this convicted felon, which I can say now every day.
A lot of words help me out here. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of gray.
Carrie Underwood is making you look like a bunch of sissy boys.
Country superstar Carrie Underwood has spent most of her career avoiding political talk, but she's set to perform at the upcoming inauguration. She said in a statement that she's doing it because the country must come together in the spirit of unity and look to the future. And lots of her fans aren't thrilled about it, but lots of her fans are. So let's put this in perspective here. What do y'all think?
How did The View go from preaching unity and acceptance to turning their rage on Carrie Underwood, one of the classiest, most talented voices in music, just because she agreed to sing for the President of the United States? You'd think someone like Carrie, who's practically the sweetheart of country music, would get a pass for wanting to celebrate her own country at a big historical event. But nope, the moment she said yes to singing at the inauguration, the usual suspects pounced.
I personally hope we're moving beyond the era of politics where we want to cancel people's livelihoods because we don't like their politics. And whether it was the Dixie Chicks for criticizing George Bush, didn't agree with it then, and Carrie Underwood, if you have a problem, you register your complaint by not downloading her songs and not going to her shows.
People started calling for her to be canceled, claiming she was normalizing a so-called convicted felon. Yes, you heard that right. They threw around an accusation so absurd, you can't help but laugh. Well, I'm here to break down exactly how this drama sped out of control, and why Carrie Underwood just might be the only one taking the high road in all of this chaos. Before the accusations and name-calling, Carrie Underwood was everybody's darling. She soared into the spotlight as that small-town girl with a big voice on a popular singing competition.
Right. But I also think from a business standpoint, it's not a bad decision for Carrie Underwood. 75 million people voted for Trump. Artists tend to skew left-leaning, so she's overnight going to become an icon of MAGA and the American right. She's probably going to make a lot of money off of it, so I get why she did it.
I say.
I mean, right?
From day one, she kept her nose clean. You never saw tabloids plastering her face with scandal after scandal. She didn't rely on dramatic feuds or questionable stunts to climb the charts. People just loved her for being genuine, graceful, and ridiculously talented. She sold millions of records, racked up award after award, and charmed fans left and right.
It is country music. I think
I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't do it, even though I can't sing.
You would not sing?
No, I would not. I would not normalize him. And she says, I love our country. How do you love your country and support and normalize somebody who was a convicted felon who really wants to destroy the country, in my opinion? I don't understand how you say you love your country at the same time as you normalize this convicted felon, which I can say now every day.
Without ever wading into the muddy waters of political bickering. Now comes the infamous inauguration invite. It was supposed to be a patriotic celebration, the kind of event that many artists dream of. You stand at the Capitol, you belt out a beloved tune, and you remind Americans, all Americans, that we share a common flag. So what's the big deal if Carrie Underwood accepted that invitation with a heart full of gratitude and a voice that can move mountains?
You know the words, help me out here. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain.
According to the Spewers, this decision labeled her a full-on MAGA star, and they demanded she be canceled, boycotted, blacklisted, whatever it took. Some fans defend her on social media, but a new wave of critics are determined to see her fall. All for what? For standing on a stage and singing America the Beautiful? The nerve. Let's talk about the moment Carrie Underwood decided to say yes. She got an official call to perform at the new president's inauguration, a big honor by any stretch. Instead of playing coy, Carrie proudly announced she was thrilled to sing for the country she loves. She made a statement, something about unity, about how we all need to come together and look to the future. That's about as uncontroversial as it gets, right? Well, you'd think so.
Yeah, I've scheduled a spa day.
I'm not even going to tell you what I'm doing. Don't worry. I'm not telling. No, I'm not telling. I'm not telling. No, because it was always in the books. Who knew this was going to be the day that it chose? Because it's also a very interesting day, right? The 21st.
It's Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And you can choose to celebrate it how you want. You can honor MLK.
I'm going to honor him and at the
get a
spot.
spot.
Well, as long as it's a free country and it holds, I would agree with everybody. It is a free country at the moment.
Well, yeah, but it's up to us to make sure that doesn't start to change.
Yes, right.
Well,
that's
we're trying.
Well, we're trying, yes, and it's important not to forget that we have that right. It is up to us.
Yeah.
Now, there are other people performing too, and I don't really even want to bring it up. I don't.
Boom. Enter the firestorm. Suddenly, social media is ablaze with people shouting that Carrie normalized someone they despised. Some folks demanded refunds for her concerts, and a few hotheads threatened never to stream her music again. But guess what else happened? A huge chunk of new supporters rushed in, seeing Carrie as someone with real backbone, someone who wouldn't bow to cheap intimidation. These folks congratulated her for having the guts to appear in public with a president that a lot of celebrities were hiding from. So, while certain self-righteous corners of the internet were whining about how outrageous she was, others were cheering,
Some are calling for her to be boycotted and canceled. John Rich weighed in, saying there are several top-tier country artists who support Trump, and I wish they'd finally have the balls to come forward and be counted. Ain't nothing outlaw about keeping your mouth shut to appease the record label. Carrie Underwood is making you look like a bunch of sissy boys.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but then you pushed her and she said, yeah, I guess I am.
Well, I said to her, do you believe that women should make the same amount of money as men? Well, I guess I am a feminist.
Yeah, and she said, I guess I am a feminist. So I think people feel pretty strongly about it. I think art is art, and you have a right to perform where you want to perform. I agree with you, Joy. I can't sing a lick, but I certainly, and I have not been asked, but if I were asked, it would be a hard no.
Well, they wouldn't ask me, so I have nothing to say.
Right, yeah. They're not asking any of us.
No.
Talk about polarizing. Overnight, Carrie's name was on everyone's lips. If you needed proof that the spewers is anything but tolerant, this was it. They lit up social media with childish name-calling, scolding Carrie Underwood as if she'd committed some unspeakable crime. Don't believe me? Look at the endless posts calling her a traitor, a sellout, a puppet of the establishment, like the woman just lost her mind because she decided to celebrate a national milestone. And you know who hopped on that train at full speed? Some of the ladies on the spew who live for talking down to people who don't walk lockstep with their agenda. But here's something people won't tell you. Carrie's not the only country artist who has those views. Remember John Rich? He went online to support her, calling out other high-profile country singers for staying silent. He basically said, hey, if you really care about what's going on in the country, why are you letting Carrie take all the heat? Step forward, say something.
A lot of my family voted for Trump. They love the country and vote for him. I think that people make these decisions for a lot of reasons.
Okay, fine. And I would not be the person to say don't do it, because I believe in free speech and everything about it. I personally would not do it. No one's asked me, but that's another story.
I would love for you to do a roast at the Trump inauguration.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no one else had any
So
thoughts?
there we
No
are.
thoughts?
No.
Of course, some in the music industry kept their lips zipped, terrified of losing big endorsement deals or ticking off record labels that have a certain political leaning. Meanwhile, Carrie Underwood was right there, out in the open, letting the world know she's proud of the good old US of A. And that's when The View swooped in to stir the pot. One host claimed that performing at the inauguration was akin to normalizing a convicted felon. Even though, from what I recall, last time we checked, no one's doing jail time over there. So how is that felony conviction looking now? When exactly did the sentencing happen? You tell me. Because all I see is a bunch of hyperventilating about some legal charges that never amounted to any real prison stint. This same host then asked out loud, how can you love your country and run to the side of someone who wants to tear it down? That's precisely the kind of emotional finger-pointing that gets tossed around when facts don't line up with the narrative. No nuance, no willingness to acknowledge that maybe Carrie Underwood just loves her country enough to sing a song for a president, no matter who he is, on a historic day. Then another co-host chimed in about how she personally wouldn't sing or accept any invitation from this administration. Fine, that's your choice, but to shame a fellow artist who sees things differently? That's the complete opposite of free expression, if you ask me. A few others tried to stay moderate, admitting it's wrong to ruin someone's entire career just because you disagree with their politics. But, as usual, the loudest voices overshadowed everything else, piling on accusations without a shred of actual evidence. You know what scalding take they offered Carrie? If fans are mad, they can boycott her music. As if those hosts are the moral authority on who deserves to keep their livelihood. So, did Carrie's choice blow up in her face? Last I checked, the woman is still raking in awards, selling out performances, and making bank. The outrage fizzled once the next social media cycle rolled around, but that doesn't mean we should forget how she was crucified at the time. Don't just take my word for it. Look at her discography and ticket sales. She's doing just fine. The record labels never truly turned their backs on her, probably because they know she's a moneymaker. And guess what? The loyal fans who left in a huff have been replaced by newcomers who happen to like her independent streak. What sets Carrie's story apart is how I believe it will expose the two-faced nature of cancel culture. Remember the Dixie Chicks scandal years ago? Just because they said something negative about a past president, they got blacklisted by country radio. Back then, some folks on the right were all for that. Now the shoe's on the other foot. These so-called champions of free speech suddenly want Carrie shut down. The lesson? Hypocrisy runs rampant no matter which side you're on, if you let partisan rage take the wheel. But here's what The View and the woke crowd missed. Carrie Underwood is a grown woman who doesn't need their permission. She doesn't owe them an apology either. Whether she's on her 10th platinum album or just starting out, she's got a right to believe in her own brand of patriotism, no matter who the president is. And that's the real sin she committed, stepping outside the bubble. Once you do that, the tolerance vanishes, the pitchforks come out, and the moral lectures begin. Meanwhile, Carrie goes on singing, racking up hits, and laughing all the way to the bank. Carrie Underwood is shattering The View's lecture circuit by simply standing on a stage and doing what she loves, singing for her country on a day meant to celebrate the peaceful transfer of power. People lost their minds, threatened boycotts, and labeled her all kinds of nasty things. But none of it matters. Why? Because when you're sincere, your fans can sniff that out a mile away, and they respect it. She's not hiding, and she didn't start throwing mud at anyone who disagreed. She came with a message about unity, which is more than we can say for the folks who launched personal attacks the minute she said she'd perform. If there's any takeaway, it's that we should all stop acting shocked when an artist we like doesn't pass our personal purity test. Maybe, just maybe, this whole fiasco proves that if you stand strong and ignore the outraged mob, you come out the other side even stronger. And Carrie Underwood is living proof of that. You can screech about her being some MAGA puppet all day, but at the end of that day, she'll still be a multi-platinum artist with more fans than her haters can handle. The world moves on, the real fans stay loyal, and The View's latest meltdown becomes a blip on the radar. Keep singing, Carrie. If anyone's got a problem with it, that's their issue, not yours.